Welcome to the CEO update of all things MS, and today's edition will be dedicated to the National Disability Insurance Scheme, the NDIS, which is without doubt the most important social reform in the area of disability for the whole of Australia in our history. So it's my pleasure today to be able to introduce you to the person who's heading the state's organisation for the NDIS and also the federal side of NDIS. So sit back and let's learn some things together. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Marita Walker, the Perth Hills Trial Site Manager. Marita, welcome.
Hi.
How's it all going?
Well, we had a successful launch on the 1st of July. Our doors are open, our staff are in place, and we're beginning our planning conversations with the people who are transferring over to the NDIS from the LAC My Way site, and things are just getting underway.
We've read a lot of reports and we've seen things on TV which say that it came in kind of a year ahead of the Productivity Commission's recommendation. Has that put you behind the 8 ball, or are you satisfied with how things are rolling out?
Trial sites who were starting early were the ones July 1st 2013 in the 4 other trial sites in other parts of Australia. So here in WA we've benefited hugely from what they've learned over the last 12 months, and yes, there have been things that were worked out as things got going, but it was worked out on the ground with people with disabilities, and that probably ended up with good lessons for us that we're able to take advantage of. Okay, so
if I'm a person with a disability in the Perth Hills area at the moment, what should I do?
Well, if you're already connected with DSC, either through the local area coordination or through funding that you are currently receiving, then you don't actually need to do anything, and we will be in touch with you, because people are phasing into the scheme over the 8 quarters of our 2-year trial, and people who are already connected with Disability Services Commission will phase in over those first 6 of those quarters.
Okay. We've had some detailed research conducted which shows that unfortunately people with MS invariably leave the workforce well before they would like to, and that we think is sensible. Do you think the National Disability Insurance Scheme will help with that problem?
The NDIS is an insurance scheme, and that means that it's focused on the lifetime costs, and there's an opportunity, it's a great opportunity when you're thinking about people maintaining their employment and being supported in ways that enable that to happen. So for people with MS, I think there's a great way here to be able to keep them in their employment for longer and have their status be as a taxpayer rather than someone who's having funded supports only.
We all live in Western Australia, where the price for cappuccino is phenomenally expensive nowadays, and it's probably more expensive than anywhere else in the country. There have been lots of scuttlebutt that the pricing and the funding for the scheme really isn't where it should be and doesn't take into account Western Australia's specific characteristics. What are your views on that?
Here in WA, we didn't have enough evidence to have a different price at this stage, so we have adopted a price that will get us going, and there'll be more information that will be collected to determine if there is something that, as you build up the different elements of the price, that should be different here in WA. So we'll know more as there's more data become available.
Marita Walker, we understand how important this scheme is. We wish you every success for the future. Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Ron Chalmers, the Director General of the Disability Services Commission, who's also leading the team that's managing the NDIS My Way site. Ron, welcome.
Thanks very much, Marcus.
How's it all going?
It's going incredibly well. We're off to a flying start, but I guess we always knew we would be off to a flying start because of the planning and preparation that went into the past 18 months. So we now have over 500 people that are participants in the NDIS My Way model, and the feedback we're getting is universally good.
So if I'm actually a participant in the Lower South West trial site, what does that actually mean for me?
What it means is that if you believe that you could benefit from what the NDIS My Way scheme will provide, you get to engage with a locally based person, a member of our My Way team in the Lower South West, who will then assess your eligibility, engage with you around proper planning, that's you and your family and people around you, and start to build a support arrangement with reasonable and necessary supports, because that's the language that's used, and then allocate an appropriate funding level to those supports, but then be on a journey with you from that point onwards to make sure that you can link with appropriate services and supports. So it's an ongoing support system, not a one-off.
We obviously look after people from the full age spectrum, right the way through from cradle to grave. But the NDIS doesn't seem to take account of people aged over 65. We think it's a great scheme. Does that therefore make them the poor relation or a second-class citizen?
Well, 3 years ago, when the Commonwealth Government was first designing the NDIS scheme nationally, they had to put certain parameters around the scheme itself. And the Commonwealth Government have always had responsibility for supporting people in the aged care world, if you like, over 65 years of age. That will continue, but it doesn't mean to say that if you are accessing supports through NDIS My Way and you reach your 65th birthday, that all the support stops. In fact, the support continues from that point onwards. But this does mean that if you are over 65 years of age from this point onwards, that supports will come from the aged care system for you.
Now, we obviously know that there are 2 trial sites, one under your stewardship within the Lower South West and the state management, and the second in the Perth Hills under federal stewardship. How do you see the future rollout of the NDIS over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, we've agreed with the Commonwealth Government for a unique 2-trial approach to the NDIS in WA. So over the next 2 years, we get the benefit of looking at the Commonwealth Government's model through the national agency, but also the NDIS My Way model that has been built upon 25 years of development in disability services here in WA. We get to look at the benefits of both of those, and decisions will be made by both the state and the Commonwealth Government over the next 18 to 24 months about what the model will ultimately look like. We're very confident, though, that the NDIS My Way model will meet the needs of the West Australian community. We're a very big state here in WA, and we're confident our model will meet the needs of that very diverse population.
I love your confidence, Ron. But where does that come from?
We're very confident that the NDIS My Way model is appropriate for Western Australia because many of the fundamental building blocks that are in the NDIS across the whole of our country came out of Western Australia. Local area coordination network that extends right across Western Australia, our focus on individualised funding, our very, very strong partnership with the non-government disability sector, which is quite unique across this country, puts us in an incredibly powerful position to make sure that NDIS My Way is going to work for the future.
Dr. Ron Chalmers, thank you very much.
Thanks, Marcus.
Well, it's fantastic to talk to some of the senior government officials from both the state area and the federal area for NDIS. But to really understand what it's like, sometimes we need to speak to our customers. And it's my pleasure today to introduce you to Elaine, who's speaking to us live from her lounge room in Margaret River. Elaine, great to see you. We're delighted that you're involved in the NDIS My Way process. Would you be kind enough, as a customer, to just tell us how did this thing come about and how's it worked for you?
Okay, well, it first came about by my local doctor, Dr. Louise Marsh. She put me on to disability services, it was then, and they came out and saw me and obviously asked me lots of questions about my MS, my disabilities, what I could do and what I couldn't do. My first experience with them was they got me some funding for a tricycle. We paid half and they paid half, and then they also helped me out with a second-hand gopher. And then when the My Way scheme came in, she said to me, right, we've got to do an individual plan for you to get you some funding. She said I wasn't to buy second-hand gophers anymore, that I was to buy a brand new gopher, and she would organise the funding for that gopher. She also said I needed probably 5 hours help, 5 hours of people coming in to help me each week, which I have got that now, so that she organised the funding for that for me. So they got me funding for my gopher, a brand new one, and she got me 5 hours of help each week to help me with keeping my house clean, my gardens and all that sort of thing. And she also got me a bit of extra funding if I needed to get, like when I went to see my neurologist, I got funding so that someone could drive me up there and drive me back, so I wasn't on my own, and I could go up to Perth and come back the same day. And yeah, she just got me like lots of funding, and they were just so helpful. And I just had to fill out my paperwork so that I'm showing that I'm using those funding in the correct way, which I do. And yeah, it's just been amazing. Just having 5 hours of help has just made such a difference to me.
And it's fair to say that the success of the scheme is all about relationships and all about people?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and even now she says, the girl that comes out to help me each week, she said, if you need any more funding, let me know. If Elaine needs any more help, all you've got to do is let me know. That's
just wonderful. Now, we've touted the National Disability Insurance Scheme as being the biggest social reform to help people with disabilities in the history of Australia. You see it the same way?
Definitely, yes. It's a very positive thing, especially with people with MS, people with other disabilities. Yeah, if it's going to help people with disabilities, I think it's a great thing. And I feel like they're doing the right thing by everybody as well. My experience is that they are doing the right thing by me, and I couldn't ask for any more, really.
Elaine, thank you so much for your time this morning.
That's okay.
So there it is, the NDIS, alive and well and living in town. And as I've said before, it's only organisations with scale through diversity that will be able to prosper and grow in the new environment. And I know I can count on your support as we look to change our constitution to take into account that new challenge. So between now and when I speak to you next, let's fight the good fight and let's stand up to MS.